Yeah, you're good. Hi, that's Jared. He's running a stream. Welcome to, what are we, Running Wild, our chat about Fey Touched, and Jared's looking very concerned. Are we going to start this again? You good? Can you hear yourself? I need to turn the button from on your microphone to 1 to A3 or A2 or whatever you're streaming to, and then you go from there. And Voice Meter Banana is such a fun thing to do when you're running streams. Hey, Taylor, I don't know if you've noticed, I've been carefully manicuring my beard to resemble my avatar more and more as I've been going recently. I didn't actually start looking like this, but since Fragtar did our fantastic characters the other day, I'd be like, no, I'm leaning into that. I'm just going to keep going until I look more and more. My daughter said I need to re-pierce my ears. I haven't had my ears pierced for 20 years, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna pierce my ears with big gold pirate earrings.
There you go.
Cruise around looking like
there you
dude,
go.
Really
that's always a good choice.
It's a tragic things.
I see the problem. I'm going to fix it correctly because I just cheated a second ago. So give me a second.
Oh, but still waiting for Jared to talk. His lips are moving, and honestly, we want to hear what he has to say. But we'll go with that. So I've decided this is going to be my costume for PAX Australia. My daughter and I have already started to get into a bit of sewing and getting it ready. Oh, we got frames moving around. Now we're back. So I need to find a mandolin or a lute somewhere so I can strap one to my back and cruise around PAX. That'll be fun.
Do you want like an actual one, or do you want instructions on how to make a fake one?
I could make a fake one, I guess. That's probably. I can actually play guitar and mandolin, so perhaps I could just find one and then walk around being a guy.
We're good. This is how the sausage is made. Sometimes Voice Meter is just like, I don't like your microphone, which is okay. You know, respect. Hey, we're good. The meters are all moving. Welcome to Running Wild, episode 6, 7, 6, 6, right? Yeah, because we just did episode 6 of Fey Touched. So thank you both for joining me. Thank you for anyone that comes along this video. I'm joined by our wonderful DM, James, at RPG at Home, professional DM, who you can hire to run your games, and you should hire to run your games, because he's pretty awesome. And he's just telling us about all the games you're running now. 3 Rime of the Frost Maidens, Call of Cthulhu, 2.
Yeah, two Call of Cthulhu's. Yep.
And then 1 Strahd.
Yep.
So anyone that's new to D&D, none of that means anything to you, which is exactly why you should hire James, because
2 Phandelvers. I've got 2 Phandelvers.
Oh, you've got 2.
And I've got and 1 Storm King's Thunder. So yeah.
And so it's a real breadth of different types of adventure modules. So, and I'm joined by the even more wonderfuler Taylor, who plays Esmeralda. Yeah, I know I made that word up. Hey, Taylor.
Yeah. Hi.
How's it going?
Going good. Super excited to actually be able to jump on here again.
Yeah, we love having. Whenever
it's been the Tismé and Quinn show for the last few episodes, which has been really cool.
Poor Tismé, she's probably like, nope, not this time. I'm not going to be the only one to have to sit one-on-one with him for an hour. So, which I respect.
It's so chilled though. Like last week was so lovely. I couldn't make it, and it was just nice to sit down and have a cuppa and just kind of listen to nice, relaxed people. I think it's fair to say Taylor and I are a little bit louder than you.
Your energy is a little more high level.
It's a little bit hard.
A little more higher energy. But that's okay. That's what makes it fun. So, episode 6. Bit of a lot going on there, right? We wake up. Two of our party is charmed. One of them, two of our people that escape, one has mind rot, and the other is trying to piece together. Esmeralda thinks she has a grasp of what's going on. What is Esmeralda thinking about this inn? And then
she noticed that a lot of the employees are going to the kitchen, so she thought, okay, whoever's controlling this is probably doing that through food, because that's a common Fae tactic. In my head, I thought James had pulled another thing from Irish lore that I grew up with. And I was like, oh no, did he bring in that? Like, we basically were told, I grew up in a horror story about this kitchen witch who would lure people in, feed them really well, and then use them for the next day's meal.
Yeah.
This is Hansel and Gretel vibes is what I'm hearing here. Is that in the same vein?
But it wasn't just children. It was any traveler. It was
totally wish I had have done that now.
Dude, please don't. That's horrifying. And it was kind of to teach you, like, not everything that looks good is good. That was like kind of like that whole thing behind it. But the only thing I became scared of as a child was hotel food.
Yeah, right.
So
never eat it just in case there was a witch in that kitchen. That's cool.
I mean, I don't know how much you know about like America in like the 90s, but like there was just a rabid fear that we were going to get stolen by minivans from eating candy. Right?
Yes.
So like that sort of mentality of like, you know, not all that glitters is gold kind of thing. You know, kind of grew up with that. Yeah. But it wasn't a kitchen child eating hag or winch or anything like that. It was probably, in my mind, more horrifying because I do not like puppets. I do not like animated toys. I do not. And I maybe should have wrote that down on my my RPG consent sheet.
Yeah.
No, but it's you get a puppeteer. Is that what was it? What was the name of that?
Yeah, puppeteer. Yeah. His name was Jack of the Puppets, which is kind of like a satyr, and a fey creature that uses his marionette strings to control actual people, which I thought that's. Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I thought, yeah, that's cool. I had a bit of a chat with my daughter ages ago. I've got a little 9-year-old, and she dungeon masters for me occasionally, and we run a game in the Feywild, and she wanted to DM for my family, for my partner and my eldest daughter, and we were talking about the scenario about what we would do, and she goes, what would be really cool is if you have a tavern that's an illusion and it isn't really a tavern and it's being run by a witch and it's got all this stuff added to it, and then there's a puppet show where everyone who watches the puppet show becomes part of the puppet show. And I'm just going, that's crazy scary from the brain of a 9-year-old. Yeah. And I kind of grabbed elements of that, didn't quite do all of it. But there was a scenario years ago, and I'm showing my age. Well, I'm old. I'm just going to say it in the early 90s, and it was called The Created, which is a Ravenloft 2nd edition scenario, where everyone becomes marionette puppets. So they watch a puppet show and everyone becomes marionettes. And so all the players actually are susceptible to fire, and they've got jerky movement. And so you have this fantastic, it's a bit of a one shot. You just kind of cruise around in this village as puppets and do that kind of stuff. And I just liked that idea. And so when I stumbled upon that creature in Kobold Press, Tome of Beasts, I was just like, yeah, let's do a bit of this. And it was fun. So it was fun just having a bard. I like the idea of a bard noodling on a lute, and the music had been playing for like 2 sessions, and no one had kind of clocked him at all, and he sat next to him, and I kept mentioning him all the time, over and over again, and he's literally playing strings. And my thought is that there's an illusion here where, as he's playing his music, as he's manipulating strings, he's actually manipulating strings, and that he's got this entire inn under control.
When we first walked in, I did think, that's weird, because we had kind of associated with almost everyone in that place really quickly. Like, you're assaulted by the small gnome.
Yeah.
And I think there was a brief encounter with like the cook when we first walked in. And I remember the bard, but I also, also at the same time, there's so much weirdness going on. You're just assaulted by the weirdness that you really don't even have time to piece apart what's going on. And then of course, by the time we start to realize that he's already charmed, right? And it's like it goes from trying to figure out what the hell's going on here to, oh, okay, shit, we need to back out and kind of reestablish our footing and then come back in.
Take a big breath. Yeah, I was for a panicked moment. I thought, oh my god, like Esmeralda and Tismé are just going to leave these poor boys there. It's like that's the last we saw of them. Holy crap.
No, it was a get out. And just A, I wanted to see how much time passed, and B, I was like, okay, I need a moment where I can I don't want to have this conversation in this tavern.
Yeah.
Because again, I thought, whoever was doing this stuff was right there in the kitchen, and I'm like, yeah, that's a risk. I want to be out. But yeah, just because before I was like, all right, like I saw you kept pushing the food, and that's what keyed me in on that could have been that mythos, but it was the bard, and I was like, oh, she's a puppeteer, thank God.
It's much better than being served up tomorrow by a hag feast. Yeah.
Was the food ever was it impactful at all?
No.
So I could have actually had
complete red herring.
What would I have eaten if it was?
Well,
would it actually
the
taste
idea
like
being is that of course this is all part of the illusion. So
it would have been like
the place is a
shitty.
dive. Yeah, so it would have been the stew, but you would have thought it was the trout. You know, it would have been the shitty moonshine, but you thought it was fine wine and that kind of stuff. So there's a couple of things at play there. You know, the illusion is coming from somewhere else, but we'll get into that perhaps in another episode. And when we first started to put Fey Touch together, I remember Jared and Eric and I had a bit of a chat about illusion and about charm, because it's such a huge part of Fey. It's such a huge part of the fairy tale that nothing is as it seems, and that you know, you get into these packs and you get charmed by a myriad different ways. Like it's really prevalent within the setting, and so it's really hard to do that when you're running a role-playing game. Because the second you go, I'll give you a wisdom save, please, and 2 people fail it and 2 people succeed, the people who have succeeded realize what the hell's going on. They go, oh shit, well, we're under attack of some psychic way,
right? And
senses get heightened, and everyone starts looking around for what the hell's going wrong. And so it's always really tricky when you're dungeon mastering that to kind of have people affected by an illusion or have people affected by a charm without alerting the whole table that something's
keeping it organic, right?
Yeah.
And so I've just kind of made the call that powerful illusion's going to work because it's just better as a narrative thing. And then it's up to the intellect of the players and the characters to kind of work out, hang on, that doesn't sound right. Let's dig a bit more and I'll do my investigation role to try and figure out what's going on here, rather than asking for something, then potentially ruining that kind of moment. So it makes it's very different to other D&D games, you know, where you're allowing people to go make a roll, or you're checking against their passive to see, well, maybe you just see through that straight away. Whereas if you saw through this straight away, that's kind of two whole sections that are just like, almost. It's like done. Yeah, it's kind of not fun. You know, for the 3 of you see this magnificent, beautifully appointed tavern, but you see this weird satyr-looking guy with a marionette puppet sitting in the corner. It's kind of like, yeah, that's not fun for anyone. No. So it's it's an interesting balancing act when you run Fey campaigns, particularly when you've got 2 elves that should have advantage on saving throws versus charm. And I'm like, oh, crap, that's
so you just throw a lot of status effects at him a couple sessions before, and one of them's bound to stick.
Yeah,
well, that was complete accident. Like it's that I didn't put 2 and 6 together on that one, and because of course you're kind of planning what's going to affect players within the long rest arc. So you go, yeah, okay, there'll be a couple of short rests, we'll do a couple of encounters, we'll see how it goes. And I prepared, I don't know, maybe 12, 14 different encounters for forest, let's walk through the forest kind of stuff. And because I like it as a DM just to kind of surprise myself, I make my own little random encounter charts and you plan out a few things and get a few maps and go, yeah, okay, well, let's see what potentially could happen here. And so, and the way I deal with it with overland travel is depending on how badly you do on your survival check or how badly you do on your nature roll or whatever to kind of work through the frame, is how long it takes. So if you fail it, it's not like you're lost and you'll never get there. It's just like, no, it's going to take an extra couple of hours. And so you make a few more rolls on the random thing, and we just add a few more bits in, or you pick if it's a particularly bad roll, you pick the worst random encounter to kind of hit you with, just to go, yeah, okay, you rolled terribly. You get
enjoy that dragon.
Yeah, that's right. And so I just kind of went, oh yeah, there's a couple of mushroom guys. You've giant mushrooms. I liked that kind of Fantasia kind of vibe to it, or Alice in Wonderland vibe. Get a disease that's going to hit people's minds. That's kind of cool. Then next thing you know, you've got these weird guys that are going to spray musk on you that give you poison. That's kind of cool, without realizing, oh shit, when you're at the end of it, when you finally get to safety, all those things conspire against you in terms of resisting the spell, which is kind of like, that's cool. I didn't think of that. I should do that more often, but they're certainly not intended. It was like these random things just happened to poor Quinn, and next thing you know, he's got his advantage on resisting wisdom saves is no longer there. It's like, it's got that. Good fun.
It worked.
Yeah.
It worked, and I love that I think it was made better, and again, completely random, that Esmeralda was not affected. So she was one kind of like trying to pull the threads together to keep the party from succumbing to some sort of evil fae demise. And so Esmeralda catapults herself into the kitchen, right? With, I believe, a pretty high dex roll, right? Like
barrel roll over the bar, no one sees her. It's great.
And then is trying to just navigate, and you're like trying to wake people up, and people are. The idea if you pull back of this and just watch the camera from like above and watch this happening, Esmeralda's like plucking people, and then people are just dropping in the background, right? Because he can only control, I'm guessing, so many at one time.
Yeah, 7. Yeah, he can control 7 creatures. So it's kind of like, okay, so as you wake one up, another one falls asleep. So as he's gone, Bisbo and Quinn, the people out in the kitchen, have fallen asleep because that way, yeah. So walking out, there's a whole heap of sleeping people.
Yeah. And unfortunately, none of the sleeping people happened in front of Esmeralda, so she didn't like pick that up right away.
Right.
Yeah.
So the only thing she picked up was the minute Quinn asked for trout, he became charmed, and that's when she was like, "Oh no, this is my people. Hold on."
Yeah. Everything kind of fell into your narrative, Esmeralda, for this Fae Inn. It was so. Again, whether it was intentional or not, it was a great red herring because you were so convinced that like it's this.
I was like, okay. Well, it's the fact that they were so focused on food made Esmeralda think this is somebody who's using the Fae's like obsession with hospitality and grace. Just this is what Esmeralda picked up on, because this is a way that Fae commonly trick mortals into giving things up. Which I've tried to be very nice and never have her ask, "Can I have your name?" Because that's a thing with the Fae.
Names are very important. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
if you know a creature's name, it's like some sort of control.
Well, the specific phrase of "Can I have your name" kind of gives them the permission of "I can control you." So the response to that should be along the lines of "You can call me." So there's this very specific way you're supposed to treat the Fae. And that's one of them, is never ever give your name outright or, "Oh, my name is," after that question, because then you forfeit your name and thus your control of you.
And I don't know if you know this, but your other 3 party members are never going to walk this conversational line well, right? Like if you get Bisbo and you ask him what his name is, you're going to get his name, you're going to get the last 5 places he's stayed, the name of every person he's ever known,
all 7 of his friends that he's ever had. Yep.
Right.
And I love that whole naming convention. In other games that I played, Changeling, there was World of Darkness game, for example. You have multiple names. You've got your Fae name and your mortal name, and you've got different ones. Really tips into this kind of Rumpelstiltskin, guess my name and you can be free kind of sense. They're cool parts of lore, really, really good to kind of weave into there. I will say, I had no idea what you were doing when you were leaping into the bar and going into the kitchen. I'm like, I'm not sure what she's going with this, because of course you're not explaining it in front of me, because like you don't.
No,
and she has such clear intentions. Like she knows exactly what she's going to do.
I'm just doing this.
I'm doing. And that was also just to kind of like, because I was like, okay, I think it's the kitchen. I think it's the food. Because they're focusing so hard on hospitality, and that's how a lot of Fae ensnare people, that it has to be. And I thought, I was like, he pulled the kitchen witch, and I actually have been thinking of that since last week. So I was like, okay, I gotta get into that kitchen, I gotta go, and it was not.
So when you have a split session, when you're still in the same scene, and you're kind of like, okay, you've had the setup, you've had the cliffhanger. And then it's like, right, I've got an entire week to nut out what I'm going to do, and my first action is going to be this.
I had an entire week to stress out because I had a mind-rotted Tisme, and the 2 people who are very effective against casters are now believing they're servers and building managers. So I was like, okay, we're down half our party. This could get nasty. What am I going to do? This filing is due soon, but wait, hold on. Like, I was stressed.
And of course, she does so well, right? Playing the mystery orderer, like the Karen kind of asking about every single thing on the menu.
The secret shopper. Oh my
just
god!
like
when she would answer the flower types, I was like, Latreni, you were the best. Thank you for going with this.
Yeah. I was really prepared to like play the host. And just talk about a random menu. And of course I was like not prepared to talk about the various forms of rising flower.
What I loved is, of course, we're doing all this online. So, you know, I'm role playing with Taylor in the kitchen, and I'm watching Latreni frantically Google flower types, and I'm watching Jared frantically Google, you know, high-end restaurant menus, so that they can role play effectively.
The sea bass comes with a, you know, an incredible cucumber paste, you know, and all this stuff. And she's like, "Tell me about bread."
Yeah, like a yuzu citrus paste with a sea brine. So when I was in law school, I was a server, and every time people ask me a question, I'd be like, I am bullshitting this answer because I don't want to go back there and ask my chef who's going to yell at me. So I'm going to bullshit this answer.
Yeah. And that was entirely what we saw. I'm going to say Latreni was fantastic last week too. I love the Tismé Esmeralda mix, where Esmeralda's don't touch that, and Tismé's like, I'm going to touch that. It's like, you know, it's like, you shouldn't do this. Yeah, I'm still going to do that. Like, and Latreni as a player is not very confrontational, and Tismé is not a very confrontational character, and so she just kind of nods, goes, "Yep, okay." Still doing
we were talking about last week her incredible Sanctuary, Twilight Sanctuary healing. 60-foot, you know,
ability.
Well, had it been available, she can also end charm or frightened, you know, instead of heal. And so, could you imagine how this plays out differently? Where
the entire tavern just wakes up from a stupor,
and she's like spread this entire healing around and just plucking people and saving. You know, it would have been crazy. But of course,
that bard would have been in a bad spot.
Real pissed, yeah.
That bard got in a bad spot pretty quickly anyway. You know, the Wrath of Bisbo is frightening. God, that kobold does damage. It's really scary.
And if you listen to Eric talk off screen, which, you know, obviously a lot of people can't hear, he knows D&D so well that he's always thinking, what's a good way to augment and like kind of like drive this character build to be effective. And then, you know, in my head, I'm like, man, like he just knows so much. And I'm like, he's like, you know, artificers, they get kind of weaker when they get older. I'm like, you have like shot like 40 points back to back in like, you know, like 2 turns. I'm like, and you're applying like 1d4. What is it? The pummel? There's a 1d4.
Yeah. Minus 1d4 on saves and stuff. It's kind of like it's a different type of bane. It's a bane that lasts a turn as a cantrip. It's a really, really effective spell. Really cool.
Yeah. And so I think your characters are just fine. You know. He's like, I'm gonna take a level in wizard, and I'm like, what? You know, like he did all these crazy stuff, but.
And level 4 is fun, and you guys pick some cool stuff for level 4. I'm really stoked. Your spells are going to be great. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but but both your choices are excellent. Very good.
I was going to put it on the list of things to talk about, then I was like, I don't think anyone wants to really talk about it, because like I feel like everyone's kind of weaving it into the narrative of their character a little bit, or at least, you know, holding on to the surprise, because we are using the Kobold Press spells as well. So it's like, you know, some of these spells get cast, and literally everyone's like, well, I don't know what the hell that does. So I'm like, you know, let's go look and like check it out. I'm like, oh, that's really cool, you know. And
and this is, and Esmeralda's actually been a very easy character for me to find spells for. It's actually just the hard part is picking the ones I find. Like I had a bunch of spells. I'm like, each of these could work for her, and I had to really just narrow it down, because thematically she can go in so many directions, and I really do love that she's becoming less enchanted with
Mortal Worlds.
Yeah.
Well, I adore the ones you picked. I'm really looking forward to when you unleash those. I'm very, very happy. Like, you know, because you guys send me your ideas, and we update Fantasy Grounds, and we do all that kind of stuff. And every time, for all 4 of you, I'm like, yeah, that works so well. Very, very enthused. I've got to say, it's all news to me too. Like sometimes you look at a monster stat block and you don't see the psychic slap or something that bard had, and you're just like, what the fuck? You're reading through you look at their melee and go, oh yeah, well, you know, the thing I picked him was because of the mind control and that kind of narrative stuff. Okay, and then the fight breaks down. I go, oh yeah, well, sorry, what does he do when he fights again? Oh, he slaps
he backhands you and talks down to you when he does it.
He takes psychic damage from getting a slap in the face from a weird satyr puppeteer. Why not? Let's go with that. It's really cool.
Man.
So Tismay's whack.
And yeah, just another creature trying to abduct Tismay back into the Feywild. And this one, after a couple rounds of like beating up, and he pulls out this wand of whispers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and gives it to Tismay, and of course, yeah, all the characters are like, oh, that's not good at all. And then of course Tismay's like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. Yeah, give it to me, you know?
Yeah, Hag gave me a wand. That's cool.
Thank God Bisbo foiled long enough around with it that the actual communication between the two never got to happen, you know?
Yeah, you
stalled long enough.
Well, Esmeralda's used up all the charges.
That's what Esmeralda...
unwittingly, which was really... I loved it. I thought it was really cool. Kind of the idea of, you know, you got all the scientific apparatus kind of doing the identify spell. And I had really hoped that we would... I didn't just want to say, oh, it does this and does this and does this, you know, that kind of hand you the card with all the effects of what it does and ruin the beauty of the item. Because there's some absolutely stunning magical items that I'm kind of introducing into the game. There's a guy that does it's called the Griffin Saddlebag, which is kind of like they create a new magical item every week, and I've been subscribing to those guys for years.
Yeah, it's had a Kickstarter, I think, within the past year or two.
Yeah, so they've just released their big Kickstarter book. So it's got 700 different magic items. And so I just kind of go, yeah, fantastic. Cobalt Press have just done their Kickstarter of their 800 magic items, including all these kind of guest authors that did all this stuff. And so for me, I think one of the weaknesses of 5th edition is that once you've gone through the Dungeon Master's Guide a few times, you're kind of like, oh yeah, we know what the uncommon items are. You can kind of, you know, after you've started a few campaigns and got to level 5 a few times, it's just the same uncommon items, and after a while the players guess them. The Dungeon Master's certainly sick of them. So being able to have 1,500 different magic items that no one's ever freaking heard before, and they've got great illustrations and they look beautiful and they've got weird different lore to it, and I just went, yeah, this is great. Like, I love the idea of a wand that you light the candle to. I think it's going to be really useful in higher levels. You don't need verbal components. You just have to light it and whisper into the candle, and an ability to cast message and sending, which is always fun in role-playing games. You know, it's always good to cast message, always good to cast sending. But the idea that Bisbo's identifying it and kind of accidentally activates it, you know, the weave of the magic gets activated. So I asked everyone to make an insight check to see who the witch would tap into, to who, you know, whose psyche would attract the message. And of course, Esmeralda's off the chart with insight. It's kind of like, all right, I guess I'm role playing with the other Fae instead of the kind of the one that she really wanted to talk to. So Tismay's like, can I have my wand back? Can I have my wand back? You could see Latreni going, yeah, but I want to talk to the witch. And it's like, yeah, Esmeralda's not.
And the witch on the other is like, hello? This is put the other person on the phone.
I just imagined this old woman going, hello?
Yeah, exactly.
and there's a bit of a spoiler here, but and I went back to look at the episode again, and it's actually quite funny. So with sending, you can speak 25 words, right? That's what you can. Yeah. That's what you can say. So I was very, very careful that she only said 25 words to you. And then I listened to the exact 25 words that you would say directly after that. So it's kind of a very strange conversation when it cut off, but you're also like, oh, there's the witch here, and, you know, this is terrible, and Tismay, you're not allowed to touch the wand. And it was like, and it was kind of cool. So if you go back and have a look at the episode again, the NPC knows very specific information, but only the 25 words that Esmeralda said directly after the message was sent. So it's a bit fun.
I hope you chose your words carefully.
She did not. It was great.
She didn't.
Esmeralda didn't even realize that it was ascending. Like, it was just that moment of this Fae that she had been told about. Like, it is. They are dark. They are evil. Is now asking for Tismay, and is in her hand. She's like, no.
To rewind a bit, he's not here to talk about it, but we also got to see a little piece of Bisbo, because Bisbo goes full-on barbarian, basically, right? Like, he wakes up realizing that he was under some sort of control, and just unleashes the hounds. Every mechanical weapon he has, he fires off. So we got a little taste of some sort of backstory or predisposition from Bisbo about being under control. So
I adore the way Eric's playing Bisbo as well. Bisbo's got 8 charisma, so he's not well liked. It's absolutely his dump stat, and kobolds within this setting are very much the gully dwarves, the goblins, the very much the underlings. And so what I love about what Eric's doing, the way he's valuing friendship and the way that he's, if people are kind to him, you get loyalty.
Magnitudes.
Massive amounts of loyalty. And he's only known you three for 2 days, but you are absolutely his best ever friends you've ever met. And I really love the way that he's really leaning into that with, a low charisma. No one has ever really liked him before. He's never really been valued by anyone around him. And then suddenly people are asking his opinions about magic. It's like, oh my God, I've found my people in such a vintage way. And it's so beautiful. And the tears that he had,
and he's crying when he's fixing his,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Quinn.
And of course, the mind control of Quinn, where, man, you were hitting him hard, and it's just like, oh, this is so bad.
I completely forgot about that. Yeah, of course, like my most accurate round of dagger throwing, like.
When you crit on your own friend.
Yeah.
Quinn, that one hurt him deeper than he probably would have shown, but he definitely didn't want to do that. And seeing it all play out, with Bisbo kind of breaking and snapping, and then attacking him, and then seeing he's still shaken after the fight, all of that is kind of I think it weighs on Quinn, a little more than he's used to, so but we managed. Another fucking Fae character gets away.
Get away.
Another one.
2 rounds on 6 hit points and gets away. I love it.
Man, oh man.
One day we're not going to let them get away. One day.
It's gonna be the next fight. I don't know that Quinn can get ambushed again and not go into full no, this is enough. This is enough of this absolute Fae bullshit tracking us down all the time. And so we'll see. But yeah, it's just so frustrating frustrating. I think as the characters are probably relieved, at least Quinn's probably relieved to be out of the fight some. But as a player, you're like, man, this is just this guy's gonna come back to bite us in the ass, right? And again, it's this horrifying puppet guy.
And I love it. It's one great way for DMs to make players hate NPCs.
Yeah.
Is
keep them around. What's the matter?
Is psychic slap them and run out a window. It's kind of you can see the seething, and Bisbo's firing firebolts randomly into the wilderness, fuck, you got away, And that whole use of the illusion, being in the illusion breaking, and suddenly the disorientation of where the hell did this thing go, and after the other one, the kind of the haunting flute playing one.
Oh,
got you before.
Both creepy, both little creeps.
Yeah, really horrible thing. So that's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to when they appear, and they of course they will reappear. And when they appear later in the chapter, you hate them.
It'll be the final fight. We just have to go through each of them one more time.
They're like they're the mini bosses. They're the mini bosses in the final level. Yeah. Of course, that's gonna be cool. And and of course when the illusion breaks, I get to play Tiernan, which is it's a mixture between me, Russell Crowe, but when we're both drunk. It's kind of really fun to do every time I play. For me, I just think it's kind of me and Russell Crowe wake up in the morning after many, many beers and just act bloody I'll be hungover today, and just kind of do that for a session. This guy, I'm going to roleplay him for. I think that's it now. I think the rest of the campaign is set in this bar where I just get to be.
Oh, nice, yeah, just him and his butt flap, waving in the wind.
And of course, I do a little bit of butt flap. It's one of those onesies with a butt flap, and of course, it's let's roll randomly whether it's completely open or not.
You gotta know, right? Yeah. You don't wake up in his state and the butt flap, be working correctly, And so yeah, he's a mess. Esmeralda, you and who's talking? I think you and Latrini are talking to him because Quinn's like, no, not even dealing with this guy and his ridiculousness at the moment.
Yeah.
And this is again for people. This is Tismay's mentor's ex-husband.
There you go. Yep.
And he's a druid. At least he fixes our mind rot. You know, like that was nice of him. He goes and collects the herbs we needed to kind of boil and strain it out of our. I was picking like one of the little pots where you shove the boiling water, not boiling water, but hot water up your nose. The Nessie pots.
Neti pot.
Neti pots.
You're gonna neti pot.
I think that's how you get rid of mind rot. You know, you the right brew. And...
that arise. I was actually thinking more in through the tear duct to try and So either way, horrible things. You know, just nasty. You know, druids. My sense with druids, lesser restoration. It should be horrible. It's like it shouldn't be a pleasant experience. You know, it's kind of clerics more like I pray and you're all cool. Or the druids like I'm going to get the most foul-smelling shit that I can find and jam it in an orifice, and then in a week you'll be fine. You know, it's kind of like
we're going to scare the poison out of you.
Yeah, that's right. And Tiernan, what I love about him too, we haven't shown this on the stream, but we did a one-shot prior to the game where you guys were playing these NPCs, you know, so you played Digby, who's the wizard that has the Book of the Shadows that Bisbo's been looking for, and Digby in that game, as a wizard, you were looking for spell components because you're like, I need all these components, and Tiernan was a drunk druid that was sitting in a bar, and you're like, go get me this stuff. I'll give you some money. Here's a shopping list to this drunk, kind of belligerent druid who's then walked out and gone shopping. And, you know, and that was kind of the first time we met Tiernan, which is really cool.
He was with someone too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was with Theobald Ranger. Yeah, Ren, who you'll meet pretty soon, I think.
Very cool.
Who Latreni played, which was kind of cool. So always good to introduce NPCs that players have played as PCs in the past. So.
That was a cool entry. I actually might steal that one day in the future for like a new campaign. Like make them play characters in the world that aren't their characters. And that's a great test of like a good party. Like, you know, like does everyone play well together? And like, you know, can you get along? And do you have the same play styles without like over investing in like the player backstory and the whole shebang, you know, before you know that you're a good group, and then you're invested in the world too, which is.
River Bend, this setting and this village, I wrote for a school holiday program over a summer. So, you know, 4 adventures with the kidnapped baby and fighting the Kappa and doing that kind of stuff. It's like kids would come in for a week and we'd play for 2 hours a day for a week over a week of vacation. And these were the pre-made characters for them. So I've got the sense in my mind really clearly about who these guys are, which help when you're then role playing in a broader setting. You know, I've played Tiernan a lot. I've played all these guys a lot. They've had different names, but you know, and I've watched other kids play them and do that kind of stuff. So there's 8 main characters in the village, and normally you'll get 5 or 6 kids. So you play the other 2 or 3. So I've actually played the other guys multiple times. So it's always nice to kind of ground yourself within a setting, which is really good.
Write that up as a little one shot and throw it on DM's Guild or something.
Yeah, I think I will. Yeah. It's
Patreon. That Patreon one day you say you're going to actually.
Yeah, I know. It's always one of those things you're frantically preparing for games, and at some point I'll stop running games for a month and then start codifying it all and put it. Yeah, you never get around to doing that. You're already
to say.
Yeah, that's right.
So where'd we leave off? Taylor, where did we leave off the session yesterday? We've unloaded on Tyrion.
We did. We unloaded everything. He says like, "Oh no, we killed Omertha," and it's like, well, no. She said, "Psych, she's alive," and he's got lesser restoration. And I believe we're starting off as a new day the next day. So
an actual rest, like an actual rest,
which is nice.
And Omertha is an interesting thing. I thought, like, returning evil is always fun to put into a story.
Especially when it comes to the Fae, they don't ever really leave. They're all cyclical. So Omertha coming back works in the realm of the Fae, because the Fae never really die. Someone always brings them back. It's kind of like a really bad soap opera or the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Two classic genres, you know, that go hand in hand.
And poor Bisbo, of course, has come away from a village, spent 2 days fighting through the wilderness, got mind controlled in a tavern, only to find that the book he was looking for is back in the village where he started afterwards. So nice. Like, you son of a bitch.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I forgot about that too, and I was just like sitting there like, oh my god, this poor kobold. It's how like, I hate this.
I don't know what the state of the village is when we get back, right? We've got an entire military invasion, more or less.
You two went AWOL, and then they're like, wait a minute, hold on.
Oh, you had sent a message.
Yeah,
you have sent a message
loyal
to the lieutenant.
Quinn was like, I don't know that I'm gonna abandon post here without, so yes, so we did let him know that we were up to something, but they probably
no one gives a shit about Bisbo. They've probably forgotten he was ever with them, like, because there's a couple of kobolds there. Like, who cares? One of the kobolds is missing. Well, that's just what happens. So
they probably don't even know how many they actually brought.
They probably assumed that the kobold just dropped dead somewhere, and they're just like, all right, one less mouth to feed, which is sad to think about.
But I do love the self-fulfilling prophecy of being an adventurer for Quinn. The very first role-playing session that his lieutenant says, I know you'll get tempted, you'll go to the Fae. No, I won't. I'm loyal, I'll be fine. I won't get tempted by the Fae. And of course, later that afternoon, he goes AWOL, never to be seen again. It's kind of, yeah.
Well, you can't fight it too much because, like, at some point, like, it just becomes like you versus the party in a weird way.
Yeah, that's right.
Too. So it's like that's why I tried to, and I've told this to Trinity a few times in our sessions. Like, I really struggle with Quinn sometimes because I think, like, it's a balance between, like, he's a very dutiful person, but this is also his duty is to track down these kind of things and kind of see them to the end, like see what's going on. I mean, that was his original kind of goal here. Is like, what's the magic in this forest? So. How far to push that, but still be kind of the lawyer soldier that I think he is. It's interesting, and then he's also kind of just like a teenager. Like, he's like, everything sucks,
Yeah, no.
The phase
Quinn
sucks.
is giving me major, like, going through his emo phase vibes.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's rebelling against, like, his family, kind of, and, like, joins the military, and now he's kind of rebelling against the military, but, like, he's just like, fuck all this.
No, he's at the age where, like, he thinks Avenged Sevenfold is deep, and they're like, that music is like, I just like, with Quinn and Esmeralda, they're just polar opposites.
Oh, I love it. It's so great. It's so good to watch. It's gonna be like, there's so much cool stuff to be done with this. Very much. I mean, Quinn at the moment is doing his job. Like, at the moment, he's fought every Fae that he's found. He's rooting them out. He's finding out what's causing them. What's going to be interesting is when you get to that crux of where, not all Fae are evil, malevolent shadow Fae coming through the portal, but this is actually just a nice pixie that wants to help you. And you're like, right, time to cage this one.
If it's the next encounter we have, he might he might swat at it first before asking questions.
That's right.
Every time we get out of a battle and it's a Fae creature, he just looks at Esmeralda and goes, that's another one. That's just another notch in his book. And then contrarily to it, I think it'll be interesting to see how he finds out that maybe not all humans are, not everything from the kingdom is, again, that same, not all the glitters is gold, right? It's like, he's kind of, he's in that weird age or weird experience where he thinks everything's black and white and it's not, which is,
right.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's, I'm loving the way that the characters are kind of, you've been beautiful. All four of you are just amazing. Really, really layered. Lots of but accessible. It's layered, but you're not holding back on it. It's kind of like you're not holding everything to your chest going, no, it's a secret. You'll never know about it. One of the good things about having good backstory and good characterization is you've got to share it. You've got to show that this is what it is, so that way people can react to it and do it well. So, and I'm very blessed to have 4 players that are doing that. You're sharing the inner workings of your character's psyche. So it's always good. Good to lay it bare, because there's only so many opportunities in a game that you can do that. So it's about grabbing.
And I'm really excited for more like in-depth stuff, learning more about Tismé and Bisbo and all that, because they probably have some very rich backstories outside of what we've already learned.
Bisbo's backstory is like so unbelievably and unnecessarily complex. It's kind of like
Wait,
again-
he even outdid mine. Okay.
Oh no, yours is obscene. Like yours is absurd. 9 pages of incredibly detailed stuff that I'm not going to lie. Before every session, I do a quick skim of that document just to go right. What is there something?
Is there anything I can
touch
yeah.
on? Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I do that with everyone's backstory at the start of every of my planning each week. You have a quick review of kind of what's making you guys tick, so that I can bring something into that each time as best as you can. If there's something that you can touch on. So mental note, guys, read your own backstory so that you realise when I press a button.
Yeah, you're gonna
something
say.
that I saw you.
And suddenly George appears, and we're all like,
Yeah, good.
George.
Yeah.
That's cool. What's up, George? That's your father. And like, oh shit, sorry, hey father, yeah.
No,
of
I
course,
feel like
for
Quinn would
Esmeralda,
still
that's
call
going to be
us
hard.
dead.
Yeah.
Like when,
Well, no, I have all of her brothers. I actually named them in a way that I remember them.
yeah, cool.
It's just if you throw any of one of Esmeralda's heartbreaks at her, that I might be like, wait, which one is this
the
one?
X's. Yeah, that's going to be great.
Oh, we're gonna have a Scott Pilgrim episode, where we just kind of go through all of one by one.
No, she's just an idiot when it comes to boys. Like, that is her weakness. She's an idiot. It happens. We grow out of it. She is not yet.
But it's the Court of Roses. I mean, it is all about ridiculousness and romance.
Oh, yeah.
It's
yeah.
basically a Faye version of what's that new show on Netflix that everyone's gone bonkers for. I watched it, so I couldn't even tell you. It's
Sex. Is it
the Bronzers. It's like the one where the secret note writer, and she's like the.
Bridgerton?
Thank you. It's a
Bridgerton.
Faye version
Yeah.
of Bridgerton.
Yeah,
right?
totally
It's
like
all
that. Yep.
Courts, and you're young enough to be
Oh
married,
my-
and go get married this person, and I love that show.
Yeah.
Just put that on the record. That was a great show.
Which is an entirely
so-
other part of this game we're going to get into, and this is
I'm
what's going to be fun
so
when I drag
excited.
Bisbo into that
Perfect,
mix. Like
yeah.
when Bisbo
Oh
and
my
Kisme
God.
rock up to that. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm excited, but I'm also dreading that.
yeah. it's gonna
Quinn's
be great.
basically a Final Fantasy character, and so he has no personality. So I'm sure he's like Squall from Final Fantasy VIII. So he's like just a bland stone. So he's gonna be just great standing around.
Oh my God, he fucking is. Even the portrait looks like it's kind of. I'm looking at it now, going, "Yep." So, what's your personality? Knife thrower? No.
Yeah.
But like your personality? No, personality is knife thrower.
I throw the knives. It's-
That's right.
I'm here for 2 reasons. I look
Yeah.
pretty and I fight. That's it.
That's it.
All I got.
That's it.
Oh no. Very funny.
So cool.
I'm not gonna be able to look Quinn the same way again.
The sad thing is, it just dawned on me too. So I wish I could say it was intentional, but like I was looking at it, I'm just like, yeah.
This is not true, Jared. You have written some very nice character backstory, and we're going to get into that a little bit more. The big thing with Quinn, and Jared does this to me, he did it in my last game as well. He'll go, I like these kinds of things, but I'm not going to give you any detail. And it's almost like you want me to surprise you with your own history. It's kind of
I
like,
do.
yeah, it's like, oh, that's what's happened. So I've had a bit of fun to go, yeah, okay, I'm going to write some cool stuff with you. Of course, it will unveil more at the moment. Right now, it's very much a Bisbo,
Oh.
there it is. It's a Tisbo story.
Well,
A
we have
Bisbay Tisbo story.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my players did that to me for one of my games, and I was just like, oh, interesting. Like he's like, here's just fill these voids, and I was like, well, that makes it really fun. So
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to be surprised, like with my own character. I think that kind of makes it organic sometimes, but we'll see. Well, I think we're about out of time. I mean, there's a slightly popular show about to start, so we don't want to hog all the D&D airwaves, because we want to make sure they have plenty of room for their show to breathe, but also
not like they wouldn't trounce on us viewership wise.
So all 420,000 of you can switch over in a minute. Like so.
You can stay here. We'll host them. We'll throw them a quick host.
Let's raid. Let's raid.
Yeah, raid. That's what it is. Yeah, they'll really appreciate that splash in the pond. But But yeah, we'll let James get on with your day. Taylor, get on with your night. Thank you both so much for jumping in. It's been awesome.
And some minis and watch some Critical Role. It'll be fun. Yep.
There you go. It's tough
I got
day.
I got a glass of Malbec. I am ready to watch some Critical Role and unwind.
I love it. Well, thank you both so much. We'll see everyone Monday, 8:30s. We're trying to start now. Give us a little more breathing room after work, traveling from works and things like that. So 8:30 on Monday, p.m. CST. No clue what that is on the Aussie side of things. Was it like
11:30 a.m. Of course.
Duh.
On Tuesday.
I think I added an Aussie clock. I meant to ask you which time zone you were in over there so that I could keep track of it.
We are.
Is it 12:01 p.m. right now?
It is. Yep.
So I got the right clock. I picked the right one.
Yep.
Nice.
Very
It's
cool. All right,
kind of fun.
everyone.
I've got my world clock too, which has got all you guys on it, so just so that I can know when to wake everyone up with a Discord. Hey, everyone up! Who's got some stuff going on?
Pick your damn feet.
That's right.
Me on Sunday, waking up, going, I forgot to send it to James, sending a message at 4 a.m.
Yeah. Which for me is 2 p.m. Going, man, you're up early today. It was weird. Like, you can tell who's been up drinking because suddenly at 2 a.m. I get all.
Oops.
Yeah. By the time if I get a Discord while I'm cooking dinner, I'm like, oh, that's gonna hurt tomorrow.
There's a 50-50 chance I'm not gonna be able to read this.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great night, and we will see you on Monday for episode 7. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Here's my right one.